It all began on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon in the small town of Willow Creek. The sky was heavy with clouds, the kind of day that felt quiet and expectant, as if something was about to happen. Nobody knew that the lives of several people would be changed forever before the sun set. Ryan Carter had lived in Willow Creek all his life. He was 32, worked as a mechanic at his uncle's auto shop, and carried himself with the kind of calm strength that made people trust him instantly. He was well liked by most, respected by many, and loved deeply by his younger sister, Emily, who often said Ryan had raised her as much as their parents had. Emily Carter was 25, a bright and lively woman who had just finished her degree in journalism. She had returned home to Willow Creek after college, determined to work at the local newspaper before moving on to bigger things. Emily had always been curious, her eyes drawn to stories others overlooked, her voice soft but persistent when asking questions. That curiosity would soon lead her into something much darker than she imagined. Their closest friend was Daniel Miller, a former high school athlete who had become the town's deputy sheriff. Daniel had known Ryan since they were kids, and though their paths in life were different, their loyalty to each other never wavered. Daniel had seen enough small-town crimes to know that most days in Willow Creek were uneventful, but he had also learned never to underestimate how fast everything could turn upside down. On that Tuesday, Ryan closed up the shop a little earlier than usual. He had been feeling uneasy all day, a tightness in his chest that he couldn't explain. Emily had asked him to meet her later at the coffee shop downtown to talk about something she had discovered for her latest article. Ryan hadn't thought much of it, but he noticed the way her voice had dropped when she said, "It's important. Don't tell anyone yet." At 6:30, he arrived at the cafe, only to find that Emily wasn't there. That in itself wasn't unusual, she had a habit of running late, but something in the air felt off. Her phone went straight to voicemail, which was unlike her. As he sat at the table, Daniel happened to walk in, still in uniform, grabbing a quick coffee before his shift ended. "You waiting for Emily?" Daniel asked, raising an eyebrow when Ryan nodded. "Haven't seen her around all day. Everything okay?" Ryan tried to shrug it off, but a gnawing worry grew in his stomach. "She said she had something to show me." "Never said what?" Daniel's expression tightened. He knew Emily's curiosity sometimes got her into trouble. "If she doesn't turn up soon, let me know. I'll check around." By 8 p.m., Emily still hadn't shown. Ryan's calls went unanswered, and her car wasn't at her apartment. Panic began to seep into his veins. Daniel, sensing his friend's fear, agreed to drive with him and check places Emily might go. They combed through Willow Creek, her favorite bookstore, the library, the park, but she was nowhere. It was past 10 p.m. when Daniel got a call over the radio. A passerby had reported something strange out near the abandoned quarry on the edge of town. The quarry had been closed for years after a fatal accident, and most people avoided it, claiming it was cursed. Ryan's heart dropped at the mention of it, but before he could even argue, Daniel was already driving them there. When they arrived, the scene was eerily silent. The wind cut through the trees, and the old chain-link fence rattled as if whispering warnings. The headlights from Daniel's cruiser illuminated the cracked pavement, weeds pushing through like claws reaching from the earth. Then Ryan saw it, Emily's notebook lying near the gate, pages torn and fluttering in the wind. His stomach twisted as he picked it up, his sister's handwriting scrawled across the pages in her rushed style. The last entry was only half written. "I think I've finally found proof. They've been hiding something for years, and if I'm right, it's bigger than anyone realizes. Meeting them tonight at the quarry. If something happens." The sentence ended there. Daniel's face went pale. "She was here." Ryan's pulse thundered in his ears. "Then where is she?" They searched the area, flashlights sweeping across the rocks and broken structures. That's when Ryan noticed the faint glow of something metallic in the dirt. He knelt down and pulled out a small silver locket, Emily's. She never went anywhere without it. A chill rippled down his spine. Emily had been here, and something had happened. Over the next hours, the quarry became a crime scene. More officers arrived, searching every corner. No body was found, no sign of a struggle except the scattered belongings. To Ryan, the silence was worse than anything else. It meant she had vanished without a trace. Days turned into weeks. The town buzzed with rumors. Some said Emily had stumbled into something dangerous. Others whispered that she had left town on her own, chasing a story. But Ryan refused to believe that. Emily wouldn't just disappear. Something unthinkable had happened, and he was determined to find out what. Ryan began retracing Emily's steps. He pored over her notes, discovering fragments of a story about corruption tied to Willow Creek's town council. She had been investigating old records about the quarry, linking it to suspicious financial dealings that stretched back decades. Names appeared in her notes, names of people Ryan had known his whole life. The deeper he dug, the darker the trail became. Strange things started happening to him. His car was tampered with, he noticed people following him late at night, and one morning he found a threatening note taped to his door that simply said, "Stop asking questions." But Ryan didn't stop. He couldn't. Emily was out there somewhere, and he knew the answers were hidden in the very place where she vanished. One night, nearly a month after her disappearance, Ryan returned to the quarry alone. The moonlight painted everything silver and cold. As he walked the perimeter, he noticed something he hadn't before, an old maintenance shed with its lock broken. Inside, the air smelled of rust and damp earth. And there, scratched into the wooden floorboards, were the letters EC. Ryan's heart pounded. Emily had been here. Suddenly, footsteps echoed behind him. He spun around, only to find Daniel standing in the doorway. Relief flooded him for a moment, until he noticed the look in Daniel's eyes. Cold, distant, nothing like the friend he had known all his life. "Ryan," Daniel said quietly, almost regretfully. "You should have let this go." It hit Ryan like a blow. The truth he hadn't wanted to consider. Emily's investigation had uncovered corruption, and Daniel was involved. His best friend. The man he trusted most. "You did this," Ryan whispered, his voice breaking. "You took her." Daniel shook his head. "You don't understand. It was never supposed to go this far. Emily found out things she shouldn't have. She was going to expose everything. I tried to warn her, but she wouldn't listen." Ryan's blood ran cold. "Where is she?" Daniel hesitated, and for a brief second, guilt flickered across his face. "She's alive, but if you keep pushing, neither of you will be for long." That moment would change everything. Ryan lunged at him, fury burning through his veins. The two men clashed in the shed, the fight raw and desperate. Years of friendship shattered as fists connected, and the truth tore them apart. Ryan managed to break free and ran, his only thought to save Emily before it was too late. What followed was a race against time, a desperate hunt through the darkest corners of Willow Creek, where allies turned into enemies and secrets clawed their way to the surface. Ryan uncovered hidden tunnels beneath the quarry, old records proving the council's corruption, and finally, the place where Emily was being kept. When he found her, weak, but alive, it felt like the world stopped. She clung to him, her voice hoarse but steady. "I knew you'd find me." Together, they escaped, exposing everything Daniel and his accomplices had tried so hard to hide. The town was shaken to its core, justice was served, and the Carter siblings stood stronger than ever. But Ryan knew the scars would never fully fade. The betrayal cut deep, the memory of that night forever etched in his soul. Because the unthinkable had happened, his best friend had become the enemy. And yet, through it all, the bond of family had pulled him through. In the end, Willow Creek would never be the same. Neither would Ryan, and as he looked at Emily, alive and safe beside him, he realized something he would carry for the rest of his life. No matter how dark the world became, he would never stop fighting for the people he loved.